Imagine life as attending a business school, where each lesson, assignment, and team project is crafted to impart important knowledge to you. This educational journey, with its case studies, group projects, and high-pressure presentations, mirrors the intricate path of personal and spiritual growth. In this analogy, God is likened to the dean of this institution, overseeing a curriculum that is carefully crafted to draw out the best in each student. Just as the head of a school ensures that lessons are tough and challenging enough to help students think critically, behave rightly, and come up with new ideas, God also arranges life's challenges to make us better people, wiser, and to prepare us for greater responsibilities. Within the hallowed halls of this metaphorical business school, life's trials are likened to the demanding assignments and real-world simulations that students face. These experiences, though tough, are meticulously designed to test resilience, foster teamwork, and encourage out-of-the-box thinking. The understanding that each hurdle is an opportunity for growth and learning transforms our perception of personal challenges. We begin to approach life's difficulties with the same zeal and preparedness as a business student tackling a complex case study, aware that each challenge is a lesson in disguise meant to prepare us for life's ultimate leadership roles. Embracing this perspective allows us to navigate the ups and downs of life with confidence, always conscious of the guiding wisdom of the ultimate educator, molding and shaping us to become adept navigators of the complex world we inhabit. Your response to the issues of life is a major way that God tests you. One big mistake you must not make when you are being tested is comparing yourself to other people who appear to be better than you. Tests are punishments from God. Even when you pray to God to deliver you from a particular challenge, the answer will not always come immediately for several reasons. Some things take time and process, and you have a role to play in this regard. But what is your attitude while you wait? Will you complain? Will you become worried and restless? Will you blame the people around you? These are the tests that God uses to determine your readiness for what He wants to do. The Israelites who left Jesus for the Promised Land did not get there because they could not endure the hardness on the way. They responded to their needs by murmuring against God and complaining to Moses, the man of God who brought them out of slavery. They even expressed regret at leaving Egypt, but God could not persuade them about the Promised Land. You may be wondering how the Israelites could be so hardened and rebellious toward God, yet you don't realize that you are doing the same in your situation. Do not draw back from your personal commitment to God on account of supposedly unanswered prayer. This is what some Christians do without realize that they are failing a test. Do not stay away from church because you don't have a job or because you have been married but childless. If you cannot trust God through trying times, then you truly do not trust Him. The implication is that God will not entrust significant things to you. When God wanted to replace Saul, He sent the prophet Samuel to the house of Jesse to anoint one of his sons as king of Israel. He considered 7 sons of Jesse, but refused them one after the other. Essentially, God tested the 7 sons of Jesse by looking into their hearts, but all of them failed except for David. Sometimes, the test of God can be a platform, a position, or opportunity He gives you. He is watching to see what you will do with it. King Saul failed the test of God after he unexpectedly became the king of Israel. He turned out to be self-willed and rebellious towards the prophet Samuel. Consider the story of Zechariah and Elizabeth, an older couple who were well-known and liked in their town, but they always felt something was missing because they didn't have any children. For decades, they walked together, united in love and faith, yet shadowed by the unfulfilled dream of having a child. Zechariah, in his quiet moments, poured out his heart in prayer, seeking a miracle that seemed to elude them. As time wore on, the hope that once burned bright began to flicker, and the possibility of parenthood seemed to drift further away. Despite the weight of their unmet longing, Zechariah's resolve and his spiritual commitments never wavered. He continued to carry out his sacred duties as a priest with unwavering dedication, serving in the temple with a heart both heavy and hopeful. Then, in a twist of divine timing that defied the limitations of age and human expectation, the unexpected happened. Elizabeth's life, once shadowed by disappointment, was suddenly alight with the promise of motherhood. In their advanced years, when the silence of their home seemed destined to remain unbroken, they were blessed with a son, a joyful echo of their enduring faith and a reminder that miracles can and do unfold in the most unforeseen ways. What has God given you? What opportunities has He brought your way? Use it to serve men to the glory of God's name. Bear in mind that God is a rewarder, and He makes it clear in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verses 35 through 36. It reads, "So do not throw away this confident trust in the Lord. Remember the great reward it brings you. Patient endurance is what you need now, so that you will continue to do God's will. Then you will receive all that He has promised." God has great plans for you, but you must show yourself worthy of them by being patient through trying times. There will be times when He tells you to take certain steps that appear risky, maybe something you've never done before. Will you trust Him and obey Him? If you are certain it was God who spoke, then believe Him. Abraham, our father of faith, was extolled because he passed a significant test. When God instructed him to go and offer Isaac as a sacrifice, he willingly went ahead. See how God responded. The book of Genesis, chapter 22, verses 12 and 16 through 18 reads, "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son. I swear by myself, declares the Lord, that I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me." In trusting God, you may appear foolish in the sight of men, but it is God who knows your tomorrow. Go ahead, follow His instructions. It will turn out for your good. Can you imagine how foolish it seemed when Noah began to build a mighty ark because God had told him to do so, that those who entered might be preserved from the judgment of the flood? Yet Noah ignored everyone around him and went ahead with the project. It turned out that the flood came and Noah and his family were the only survivors of the flood because they were in the ark. God's word never fails. Perhaps Noah had never built an ark before in his life, but he stretched himself to ensure he did what God told them to do. You can offer excuses for not acting on divine instruction, but in doing so, you will have failed the test and missed out on divine promotion. Whatever you are facing now, if you can talk, lift your voice and begin to give God praise. Do not allow the situation to overwhelm you. Remember, similar to your experience, Paul and Silas were arrested and jailed on account of the gospel. They had become depressed, but at night they prayed and praised God. This brought about their supernatural release. God is not against you, so remind yourself of His unconditional love. There is nothing wrong with you. Trials are a good sign that you are growing and that the enemy has taken note of you. You don't have to do anything wrong to be tested. Sometimes it happens because Satan wants to discourage you and make you doubt the love of God. But your faith is very precious to God. Read the words of the Apostle Peter in this regard. 1 Peter chapter 1 verses 6 through 7 says, "So be truly glad. There is wonderful joy ahead, even though you must endure many trials for a little while. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. So when your faith remains strong through many trials, it will bring you much praise, glory, and honor on the day when Jesus Christ is revealed to the whole world." What Apostle Peter is saying here is that we should embrace our challenges with joy, knowing that they're only temporary and lead to greater happiness ahead. He explains that these difficult times are like tests for our faith, similar to how gold is purified by fire. Our faith, much more valuable than gold, becomes stronger and more genuine through these trials. So, when we stay steadfast in our beliefs, despite the hardships, it not only proves our faith is real, but also promises us a future filled with praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ returns. It's a reminder that our current struggles are not in vain, but are preparing us for a glorious celebration of our faith. In the book of John, chapter 6, verses 5 through 9, we find an intriguing episode where Jesus decides to test Philip, one of his earliest disciples. Philip had been in Jesus' company for a considerable period, yet his perception of Jesus was somewhat limited. When introducing Jesus to Bartholomew, he referred to him merely as Joseph's son, not acknowledging his divine nature as the Christ or the Son of God. This moment happened after Philip had plenty of time to learn from Jesus' teachings and see the amazing things he did during his work. It was against this backdrop that Jesus presented Philip with a challenge, aiming to gauge the depth of his understanding and faith. The test was not just a casual inquiry. It was a pivotal moment designed to reveal whether Philip's time with Jesus had transformed his initial incomplete view of who Jesus truly was. This story reminds us that following Jesus is all about growing in faith and always learning more about Him. It shows us that it's important to look deeper and really understand who Jesus is, not just the basics. So, there is nothing to fear about the trial. They reveal to you what you need to do with your life now so that you can have a desirable future. It is like going for a medical checkup to determine how fit you are and what steps you should take to improve your health. Medical doctors tell us that some ailments can be treated if they are discovered earlier. Similarly, if your child's class exam shows they are struggling in math, for instance, you can get a tutor to help them with extra lessons at home after school and during holidays. God employs men and circumstances to teach and instill other values in you. David was a patient man on his way to becoming Israel's king. He did not ascend the throne immediately after being anointed. God tested him and found him ready. Saul did all he could to eliminate David because he wanted his own son, Jonathan, to succeed him, but David would rather avoid him. He even refused an opportunity to kill Saul, but continued to honor him as the Lord's anointed. When you are tested, God will teach you forgiveness. You will learn to forgive and refrain from vengeance. You will be able to smile in the face of major disappointments. Joseph was never bitter toward his brothers for betraying him. Even as a slave in Egypt, he conducted himself with the consciousness that God was with him. It seemed like his condition was deteriorating when he found himself in prison unjustly, but his character remained stable. He was a lifter of men, even in detention, and with God, a man tested and trusted will go far. So it was not surprising that Joseph ended up in the palace in Egypt. The offense is a major test you must pass to rise to your full potential with God. As you go through life, you will come across people who will maltreat and exploit you when they have the opportunity. You need to trust God to make things right, instead of trying to take matters into your own hands. David mastered this trust, as did Joseph. Even though Joseph once tried to get help from someone else to escape prison, which didn't work out, he ultimately learned to rely solely on God. You are no different. It's crucial to keep your faith in God to defend and vindicate you, because His power and wisdom far exceed our own. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity to witness God's might and faithfulness in action. As you navigate life's trials, let go of the urge to retaliate or solve every problem on your own. Instead, lean into your faith, knowing that God's plans for you are shaped by love and a greater purpose that we might not immediately understand, but can always trust.